I found an IKEA flip phone while out thrifting, and this was the perfect moment to talk about a movie that I watched recently. I'm talking to you on my Nokia phone, okay, and it's 2005, and that's where we're starting. This movie was so nostalgic for me. I I actually really enjoyed Blackberry. Let me know if you guys think this is a fun video topic, but I wanted to talk about watching the movie Blackberry. It came out in 2023 and it kind of went under the radar. Of course, I watched it mostly for Glenn Howerton, or also known as the Dennis Reynolds from the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love that show. I have every single season. So, yeah, when I found out that he was in this movie, I definitely went to go watch it. And I was also kind of in the mood for something like this because I've been a little curious about the history of the internet. I even dug up this old copy of Where Wizards Stay Up Late. This was published in 1996 and talks about the inception of the internet. Blackberry, the movie, is a very dramatized version of the first smartphone. And what I have here is a 2005 or 2006 Nokia flip phone in like its clamshell case. Um, and I thought the movie was really great. This is a spoiler-free review, so don't worry, I'm not gonna give you any like spoilers, but it is based on the actual Blackberry and actual factual events. As I watched the movie, I was like, what is actual fact in the Blackberry movie? So it does tell the story of Mike Lazar. I'm probably gonna mispronounce this. Mike Lazaridis, and Jim Balsil. Jim was like the marketer, or he wasn't like the whole CEO, and that's something I learned after I watched the movie. My favorite character was Doug. I loved him so much, and it turned out that Doug was Matthew Johnson, who is the director of this indie film. So, kind of cool that it's a Canadian indie film, and I'm pretty sure Blackberry was a Canadian company. It really goes back into the 90s, so you get to see the whole entire like you get to see all the computers. I love watching movies sometimes just to look at sets, and this did not disappoint. It was really nice to just kind of take a little time capsule back to the early 2000s. I grew up, my father was a computer engineer, so I grew up a lot with computers. He was very much a computer junkie. I was really curious about, how much of it was accurate, but again, it was just so cool. The friendship between the two, Doug and Mike, I just loved that because in the beginning of the movie, you kind of have these like really dorky frat guys who uh, are just like playing Dungeons and Dragons and whatever video games they were playing. I don't know what games those were on the computers that they were playing on the PC. That would be fun to look up. I'm sure I can ask somebody. But I read a couple of reviews before putting my own, and I just thought that some of the reviews were scaling. Like from Rolling Stones, the New Yorker was the worst, and I think I also read a review from the New York Times. And the only thing I can agree with is if you're looking for a movie that is going to have a dialogue about our that reminiscent feeling of technology, that's not what this movie is about. So I was just like kind of, maybe I'm just not much of a movie critic, but I just felt like they were way too harsh on this kind of movie. It was just supposed to be like it says, a dramatization of actual events. I just thought it was really cool. There's even a scene in there where I thought it was just really important, and so I'm so glad he put it in there. But there was like one female computer engineer in the room, and it like zooms in on her at one point, and I just felt like that was like a great way for some women to probably feel seen. I also thought Glenn did really good in the movie because it really much starts off as like a comedy and then turns into a tragedy, you guys, because Blackberry not only was like the first smartphone, but it really revolutionized how we buy and process data with phone companies. I don't want to get too much into it. I didn't do like a lot of research, like a school paper. I just wanted to sit and chit chat about this movie that I watched. So, was it a good movie? Yes, I thought it was sharp. I thought it was funny. Like I said, Doug was my favorite part. I also really liked probably the commentary though, that probably could have got. I don't know. I just liked this fact. I thought that was a good thing to put in this movie because it was very important. Was the addictive quality of the Blackberry. So it literally got called the crackberry, and that's mentioned in the movie. And I just think that's really important because we're more addicted now to our phones than ever, and we saw it then. We saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. It also is a movie about the changing market and this technology, how fast it was moving. Blackberry could not keep up with it. I'm not going to get too much in the facts or whatever because I don't want to ruin the movie, but there was some things like data that didn't really make sense. Probably the other part was just the damage that was done to the company's reputation when all that tax fraud got called out. I feel like I can kind of mention that in the spoiler free review because you can look that up online and it is true. But there's a lot of other reasons why Blackberry kind of collapsed, and the main reason was the iPhone. Another cool part that they put in the movie that I thought was important, that kind of makes this kind of stand out, is like I would teach this in class, is there is an important scene where Mike attends Steve Jobs' like presentation of the iPhone, and the famous like quote of Steve Jobs, he actually says it, basically saying, we are reinventing the phone, and it was just touchscreen, all touchscreen. So for Mike, that must have been a pretty big blow, and like the movie goes on, they could not keep up, and it's just crazy how much of the global market they had at one point. How much did they have at one point? The company grew from 14 people to 18,000 employees. That is crazy. So yeah, the true death for Blackberry was the launch of the iPhone in 2007. So there's like some books that you can pick up that I'm planning on reading just because I thought this time period was so interesting. It's like a bunch of things that again were dramatized and kind of makes Mike look bad, worse than he actually is. Oh, and I thought it was interesting because I went down this rabbit hole. There is a video on YouTube by somebody who used to work for RIM, and he gives his thoughts on the movie. He actually says he didn't like the movie at first because he knew everybody, and he's like, Doug's not like that, and Mike's not like this. So I'm sure if he knew the people, it would be kind of frustrating. But if you're watching the movie for entertainment, he says it's a pretty good movie. And then he also delves into some of the other facts on why the Blackberry also didn't make it. But again, the major reason why is Android and iPhone. So I just thought that was just such a cool movie, a cool business movie. I hope you guys get to watch it. If you don't buy it on YouTube, you can rent it on Amazon Prime, which I'll post below with my affiliate link. And thank you guys so much if you choose to click on that link. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Maybe tell me a business movie that I should watch for my next review. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!